Oh, hello there, mate. How's it going? Welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. And as always, friend, I do hope you're doing well. I really do hope that. Turbulent and difficult times for Chelsea Football Club as they come off a very peculiar game. A loss at home against, to be fair, high-flying Aston Villa, who won their 11th game. 11 games in a row, Aston Villa, while playing in Europe as well on Thursday night. It is incredible, really, but of course we are here to try and pick the bones out of Chelsea Football Club at the moment. An extraordinarily promising 60 minutes for Enzo Maresca's side, where he of course had a touchline ban. He couldn't affect the game, certainly from the touchline, whereas Unai absolutely did with his substitutions about on the hour mark, which changed the game. And I never thought I'd be saying this. If you said to me, maybe before actually the World Cup, if you said to me, the Club World Cup, you said to me, Jan, next season you'll be feeling really sorry for Rob Sanchez because he's performing really well and people are underperforming around him, I would have not believed you. But that's how I felt. It was an extraordinary game because for 60 minutes, Chelsea had so many chances. They really applied the pressure to Aston Villa, who generated a 0.00 XG in the first half to Chelsea's 2. And they couldn't capitalise. The only goal, of course, Chelsea scored was an excellent Reece James delivery, but it sort of just bounced off João Pedro, which will be the easiest goal he's ever scored in his career. I don't think he ever even knew he scored it. But of course, there's been a huge fallout, naturally. Lots of Chelsea fans upset. I think we've got like 1 win in 6 or something. I believe if Sunderland win the game that kicks off around now, time of recording, they'll go above us, knocking us out of the top 5. And we're in a slump here. So I've gone across the internet. I've delved deep into the turgid sewage of social media and indeed certain headlines. And there's a few talking points. First of all, there's been an investigation about a bottle being thrown, which I wanted to reference. Chelsea are going to help the Premier League look into that. Look, we don't want to see that, mate. Don't chuck bowls at people. That's silly. But, it's pointless me trying to put that under the microscope. It's just poor behaviour at Stamford Bridge. But there's a few things I want to get into. Apparently, Hatau is being targeted for an Ajax return in January for a loan. Lots, of course, discussion points on Chelsea vice-captain Enzo Fernandez, who had a really amazing game recently, man of the match. And now, of course, he didn't have the greatest game. He's taking a lot of flack from a lot of fans. And interestingly, certain publications like footballtransfers.com are referencing him finally going to Real Madrid. Of course, this always comes out after a loss, doesn't it? And, of course, not just players under the microscope, of course, the ownership, the sporting directors, and indeed the manager. I've been quite transparent. I quite like Maresca. I'm not necessarily, super obsessed with him like perhaps I have been previous Chelsea managers. But I think he's pretty good. I think he sets up really well for certain games tactically. And, of course, despite being not... He's 45, so he's not young, but he's still new. Like I keep saying, this is his first ever second season in a job. And I think he sets up well in big games. And dare I say it, we set up pretty well in the Aston Villa game. And if you look how Chelsea played, it was extraordinary pressure for an hour until Unai affected it and changed it. And yes, he is an amazing tactician, Unai Emery, one of the best in the world, probably underrated. Maybe Maresca wasn't able to react as much because he had a touchline ban. I don't know. I don't want to, make excuses. But he apparently looked, from journalists' reports, he looked confused and crestfallen that his team was just crumbling in front of them and they should have scored more goals. But of course, after a result like that, in a run of form of which we are in, the questions are coming up about the managerial candidates, and there's an article on Football Insider speaking about basically Liam Rosenior waiting in the wings, which, isn't going to stimulate a lot of Chelsea fans. I think he's great, by the way, Liam Rosenior, a young and promising coach. But young and promising is all we've had for so long now, and maybe we've had enough of young and promising. We'll get into it all, gang. But also, by the way, a lot of these fans online that are perhaps calling for Maresca to be sacked, you asked them perhaps who you want as an alternative. They might say like a Cesc Fabregas. What's he? Young and promising. People just say names, don't they? They just want something different when they don't like what they have, even if they don't know if it will be worse. Anyway, welcome back, guys. So I sort of lined up what I want to speak about in today's content. We're 5 minutes in, but I wouldn't mind to do a call to action briefly. If you would consider liking and subscribing on the YouTube, that would be helpful. It does do me a favor, and if you're interested in doing that, like and subscribe. If you want to listen to this on podcast platforms, I believe on Apple Podcasts, certainly check it out on Spotify. And you can follow me on there, and I think 5-star reviews, they still help me out on there, I believe. So there is the call to action done. Thank you so much for your continued support, my friends, as we delve in these turbulent times, which it feels like it shouldn't be that. Excuse me, just a couple of weeks ago, I was like, well, we're in all 4 competitions, we're in a semi-final, we're probably going to make it to the knockouts of the Champions League, even if it's through a playoff. I imagine we will. And, Stevao's fun, and Rob Sanchez is good again, and, oh wow, we've got a partnership with Fofana and Chalobah out of nowhere, and Reece James is fully fit, and, he's not going to be injured anymore, and he keeps getting goal involvements every game, and plays in multiple different positions, but it's so fragile with this Chelsea team, isn't it? That you never really know what's around the corner. Well, often you do, and it's, like I say, turbulence and pain. So, reports coming from the Netherlands that Ajax's number 1 left back choice, apparently they're in need, is a return of Hatau. It's questionable or whether Chelsea would allow him to come back on loan. Firstly, I believe Chelsea don't have an additional loan spot. So if that happens, it probably means we're going to be recalling someone, I wonder if that will be an Anselmino or a Sarr, someone like that. A Sarr at Strasbourg. I don't know. Possibly. Basically, it sounds mental. We have Cucurella coming off, that was a criticism of Maresca yesterday against Aston Villa at Stamford Bridge, that he took off Cucurella, I believe. Did he take off Cucurella, or am I losing my mind? I believe he did. Apparently Cucurella had a hamstring complaint, so he took him off. Yes, he did come off. So it was an injury. So his only, deputy, the only depth, the only rotational option we have really in that position is Hatau. Although, to be fair, he brought on Gusto to play there, who has played on the left side. But we're super thin there. We're real thin. Cucurella, actually, he's done all right last couple of games, but I actually feel like he's been off form for a while. Unlike Reece James, who's sort of generally been turning up. It's tricky. Look, it would seem like madness. Obviously, look, he cost a lot of money, best part of £40 million. Hatau, we should not forget about this. He's a 19-year-old left-sided defender who can play both left centre-back and left-back. He's played, despite only being 19, he's not like, for example, Mark Gue, who's 19, the Chelsea striker, who sort of played a couple of games for Barca's first team. Hatau has played so many games, hundreds maybe, of certainly over 100 appearances for the first team of Ajax, and has captained them when he was 17 years old in Europe. So he's got such a wealth of first team experience, yet we've just not really seen him feature at all for Chelsea. So I can understand, we spent best part, again, 40 million quid, best part of us, a lot of money for a 19-year-old defender from the Netherlands, from the Eredivisie. Maybe there's an argument that he needs to go and play football and help his development, and if Chelsea feel like they can cover that, great, but of course we'd have to recall someone from a European loan, I believe. Anyway, it just seems crazy. I'm going to speak a bit more broadly on how I feel about the squad and the manager in a moment, but that's a story that I wanted to cover that's coming out of the Netherlands. Also, football.transfers.com, speaking about Chelsea. Okay, firstly, disclaimer, this is almost absolute, so-and-so. Chelsea ready to submit Enzo Fernandez swap deal offer. This is coming from Cameron Smith on footballtransfers.com. Chelsea are ready to include Enzo Fernandez in a swap deal bid for Real Madrid's superstar. You could probably guess loads of them and you'd get it wrong. Jude Bellingham. Fernandez, who's 24 years old, has been one of the Blues' most important players since we bought him from Benfica for 121 million euros, which is about 105 million pounds. He's been continuously he's been continuously linked with a move to Real Madrid for the past year. I'd say longer than that. For a long time, they've been looking at him. Los Blancos are eager to sign a new midfielder following the exit of Luka Modric, of course. They've basically lost that iconic midfield three now, Modric being the last after Cruz and Casemiro. The likes of Vitinha at Paris Saint-Germain, I'd be very, very surprised if PSG sell to Real Madrid. Keys, Smith of AZ Alkmaar, don't know him. Angelo Stiller of Stuttgart have also been linked with a move to Real Madrid, but it's been widely reported that Xabi Alonso is keen to bring the Argentina international to the club next year. This is coming from reports from Spain. Don't worry, it's not from Fichajes. Yeah. I see that and I go, no, and I won't reflect to it. Now, look, I think this generally is probably broadly nonsense anyway. I don't think there is a plan to get him out the door. I was going to say the window. The plan goes out the window, the player goes out the door. The truth is, though, Real Madrid have been sniffing around Enzo Fernandez for a long time. I've been pretty consistent in saying I think he'd probably suit Real Madrid really well. He kind of gives Galactico, doesn't he? Like, he kind of gives, like, the sort of Ramos, Ronaldo, like, attitude, like, with stuff that we'd miss, by the way. I'll speak about his form in a moment. And I do think out of all the untouchables, Fernandez is probably the one that if you waved a big sum of money under Chelsea's nose, they might sell him. Now, I really like Enzo Fernandez. A few weeks ago, he had an amazing man of the match performance where he was playing like, Pirlo, Fabregas. He was doing regista passing basically all over the gaff. He covers loads of ground. His numbers are good for goals and assists for like a number 8. They're very strong, very sturdy for this player that also is a leader on the pitch. Say what you want about the lack of leadership and the sort of mental fragility and vulnerability of this Chelsea side, which is clear to see a lot of the time. Now and again, we praise it when they went on a run and we see them Enzo and Reece James slapping each other and roaring in each other's face, and Chalobah, celebrating slide tackles, and, we're thinking, wow, the Willie Issa appointment really helped the mentality of these young Chelsea players. And there has been a development. I saw Sky Sports or Football Daily, Dougie Critchley tweet before the half-time yesterday. I'm going to read it to you, actually. He's like a football analyst, pundit or whatever, and he's actually not been very pro Chelsea for a long time now, I'd say. So I was, just to read this, I thought it was quite interesting and quite telling. He said, in contrast to last season, Chelsea feel an incredibly stable football team, guys. Man City might have more attacking threat, and Arsenal might have a better defence, essentially. But I feel like despite big injuries, despite some red cards, he's talking about Chelsea here, you can close your eyes and see their positions and shape Chelsea's players will be in and week out, and their movement. It's organised, it's unified. Maresca's coaching deserves huge credit. So that was obviously in the first half when Chelsea looked imperious, or about half-time when Chelsea looked like they were shaped perfectly, and, a team in Aston Villa that have just won 10 games in a row just didn't know what to do, basically. But it all went Pete Tong, of course, and that's what's raised the questions. Now, look, we can talk about the owners, but it's boring. The sporting directors, I think, can be put under the spotlight. The thing is, I saw Matisse post something about Luis Campos. He should have been the guy rebuilding this project. So that's a throwback. I remember covering him, friggin' 5 years ago, Campos. Of course, he did some stuff at PSG, I believe. But, they've got the sporting directors, unlike Maresca and other managers who get like the 2-year review and 5-year contracts. The sporting directors apparently are going to have like a 5-year review. Yeah, so Campos still works for PSG, basically. He obviously built a quadruple winning side for Luis Enrique. Some Chelsea fans will, because apparently we interviewed Luis Enrique before, and he was quite keen for the Chelsea job. You can make an argument that Campos, the sporting director, and Enrique, the manager of both of PSG could have been building the Chelsea project. Probably wouldn't have been financially efficient though, and and of course we can't pay the wages that PSG can. Right. So look, the sporting directors aren't going anywhere. They're going to be judged over a bigger body of work, which is probably frustrating. I don't have much love for them. I've got to be consistent in saying I like the incentive-based contracts. I like the future-proofing Chelsea with the long contracts and a lot of young players. And I do like the scouting gems, some of them from South America. I think, it is undervalued. It is underplayed. There isn't a Esteva Willian out there for you to buy for £29 million. Do you know what I mean? Which will be, it's just a superstar signing, even though we had to see him fully flourish. So I like some of it. It would be wrong of me to be like, they're terrible, but I'm not, I'm getting old. I turn 37 in March, I want Chelsea to start winning again because that's what they've done for the majority of my, with Chelsea. I mean, I remember obviously even like the 90s, Chelsea were a competitive, great team, with like consistent sort of senior players. I know it was a different time, a different landscape, in a different project, but I really want to see. Because we're slipping into banter era as well. We're level on points with Man United, who are peculiar and long have they been quite a terrible football team. I know their underlying numbers have improved under Amorim this season, but like we won the Club World Cup. We were supposed to get better. We were supposed to, after showing that, in the Club World Cup, big performances in that final against PSG, and even in the beginning of this season, let's just take it like Barcelona in the Arsenal game. 3-0 against Barcelona. The 1-1 against Arsenal, but we probably could have. We had more shots than them despite being a man down. A really good performance. It's supposed to be like, when's the next step? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I've realised I've gone down a cul-de-sac here. But Enzo Fernandez, let's quickly just jump back to him then. I think it would be unfair to suddenly say this guy's a trash player. He has really good performances, a really good relationship with Captain Reece James, and we've seen that he's capable of putting in a superstar performance. I've kind of always been the same with him. I like having him at Chelsea. No issue with him like starting games. I think he probably needs to start in our strongest 11 at the moment. But if there's a big deal to be done, are we going to swap him for Jude Bellingham? Absolutely not. Jude Bellingham loves Real Madrid. I'd be very surprised if he suddenly wants to half his wages and come to Chelsea. That's not going to happen. But what might, should I say, eventually happen, if something does happen, it will be just probably Chelsea accepting a bigger load of money for Enzo Fernandez, probably to Real Madrid. That's a story I can believe, and that could happen. Right, let's move on and speak about the manager then. Okay, so there's an article here on Football Insider 247 that do a lot of exclusives and transfers and stuff. They speak about Mick Brown, of course, remember him, United and Blackburn chief scout, apparently remains very well connected within the game of football. He has exclusively told Football Insider, which they always say, that Chelsea are preparing for all eventualities in regards to the boss's future. Liam Rosenior, of course, currently managing Strasbourg, already has close ties to the Blue Coat hierarchy. He speaks very, unsurprisingly, guys, he speaks very positive of Blue Coat, who, of course, have given him a good job in Strasbourg and platformed him and given him loads of good players. So naturally, he defends them. Chelsea identify the ideal Maresca replacement in Liam Rosenior. Football Insider revealed in November that, of course, that Man City are working to identify Guardiola's successor, and Enzo Maresca is high on their list. So Chelsea are looking at, and of course, if negative results happen, these stories will come out. I think Maresca has made a mistake with his recent comments. Mick Brown said he's left a lot open to speculation and refusing to explain some stuff, and that only makes the situation worse because, of course, rumours won't go away. The quotes continue. From a Chelsea point of view, they're planning on what might ever happen with him. Liam Rosenior is going to be a contender for the job, and I think he deserves it. He's young, he's an English coach who's come through, done his badges, fostered a very good relationship with Hull, my former club. There you go, he's doing a puff piece on him here. So I know he's thought of very highly. Yes. Look, he's done well. Liam Rosenior. He speaks very well. He has a great mentality, and is got a really strong rapport with the Strasbourg players. He still speaks English, I think, to them. I don't think he speaks French yet, or speaks very limited French. For what it's worth, I think he's a good coach, and I think he'd be really good with the players. The way he talks to them and the way he could like motivate them. Should he be Chelsea manager? Probably not. You know what I mean? But like, let's talk about another one then. Cesc Fabregas. We all love Fabregas. His time at Chelsea was pretty darn magical, really. In how long was he with us? 4 years. He won 2 Premier Leagues, cups. He must have. Did he win the Europa League with Sarri, or was he gone by then? Still, he came back to the Prem. Left Barcelona. He could have gone to Arsenal, but he said no. And he won 2 Premier Leagues and had a great time and cups and whatnot at the Chelsea. And he's of course managing Como in Serie A. Let's see how they're doing. A well-funded project that are sort of, using their all kinds of ways to make money as like a tourist destination, fashion. They're doing all they can to generate a big revenue for a small club in a beautiful place. But where are they? They're in the top 6. So he's doing incredibly well. He's currently in a European competition. Were they in Serie B last season, or was that the season before? They've flied up the leagues, and ultimately they're doing very, very well with Cesc Fabregas. Do you know what I mean? Like, Cesc Fabregas's little old Como are ahead of like the likes of Bologna, Lazio, massive club, Atalanta having a tricky time. Not against Chelsea in the Champions League though, they beat us. But in 6th place, man, just 3 points off where Roma are at, and 5 off Juventus, who are in the top 4. So yes, he's doing very well. But what do we? Do you know what I mean? Cesc Fabregas is a young, exciting coach who's a talented player. He's doing well. He's probably in the right place, and dare I say, Liam Rosenior is probably in the right place. But Roberto De Zerbi, I mean, he was doing amazing with Marseille. Let's just quickly see where they are. Of course, they're a really well-funded project. They're 5 points off top now. Oh, Lens are top of Ligue 1. What the ruddy heck? PSG is second, and they've got 2 losses already. Wow. Marseille, I've got 4 losses, but they're doing well. Do you know what I mean? They 10 wins, 2 draws, and 4 losses. Pretty strong, and of course Roberto De Zerbi, we remember from Brighton. We know Badad Igbali had that weird hug with him a few weeks ago and likes him. So certain Chelsea fans will say that, bring me De Zerbi, bring me Fabregas. Bless him, I don't think many of them will be saying, bring me Liam Rosenior, but I do think I understand why he is like a sort of a good candidate, do you know what I mean? But I don't know what to tell you, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, what fixes this? It probably buying a proper striker. Like, the main sort of talking point of my match review yesterday was if we had Ollie Watkins on our team, the guy who scored 2 goals from 0.5 xg. I'm not saying that would have, translated to him scoring 4 goals from 2 xg, but if we had a big boy striker in those moments, and indeed, of course, we're still just waiting for young, talented wingers to come good. Like, I saw a great deal of criticism for, not just someone like Fernandez, but our wingers yesterday. Pedro Neto's numbers have been great. He's 25. He's going nowhere. He can play on both sides. He can play false 9. If you've got a problem with Pedro Neto playing for Chelsea, then you're just angry for the sake of being angry. I don't think anyone wants, Estevao to go anywhere. He's, young and exciting, and hopefully will get an opportunity to make his way into the team. We'll see what happens. It'd be sad if he has to go on loan, but I don't think so. I think he will get utilised. And left-hand side, we've got 2 young players, 2 21-year-olds that need to settle into the Chelsea side and find their confidence in rhythm, and Gittins and Garnacho. I don't know, man. I personally, to wind down this talking point video, to what I think is, I see us set up in ways where I think, yeah, this is sensible. Yeah, we're set up appropriately here, which is a tick for the manager for me. And when I see the team panic, the recurring theme, right, the recurring theme of this young Chelsea squad, and it's been the same for a while, is they're capable, they're talented, but when they know they're on top and they don't get their way, yeah, they panic and they just fold. And you've probably seen that clip that Simon Johnson on X retweeted about De Ketelaere saying, yeah, Chelsea, they flop in the second half, basically. I know it was the opposite in Newcastle. We were bad in the first half and we're good in the second half. But basically, everyone was sort of reiterating, we've done what De Ketelaere said would happen, playing against Atalanta. He was like, this is what will happen with this young team. There is an element of they just have no one to just settle them down. Like, no one. They're like there's like a nice togetherness, yeah. Almost in the way that PSG flopped in the final of the Club World Cup, where we beat them. They didn't have many senior players. They kind of just let it happen to them and they lost their heads. And not just oddly, in a peculiar way, we were the team on the other side winning. But I just think it's just an immaturity in the team. I think the coach is pretty smart. I think he sets up well against big games. I think he generally is the right man for the job, but the job needs to be appropriately, resourced, and I don't think it is, basically. There's, of course, huge criticisms and lots of people highlighting the players that we lost, Dewsbury Hall, Joao Felix, think what you want about him, but in terms of players that just believe in themselves and their ability and can execute stuff, of course, Noni is a good player, he'll be good for Arsenal, but he's not for me, he's not a sort of huge loss. Yeah, and of course, I think Nico Jackson, he always did a lot of stuff right. He's, and I just think, I think we've got players coming. Giovanni Kenda, a massively exciting talent, but it's a teenager joining. We've got Emmanuel Omega, a really good 23-year-old striker, but is he that good? I mean, I feel like it's just we're in this vortex of bringing in are these good players? We'll soon find out. Anyway, it's interesting to see the fallout. Of course, there's a lot of emotional, reactionary stuff. But, everyone's entitled to their opinion, for it is a game of opinions. I don't think there's some, maybe there's a manager, you drop in and they immediately do better, but I think it's quite a tough job, the youngest squad in the league, injuries, the sort of unprecedented fixture schedule with no break with last summer with the Club World Cup. It's tough for anyone. I kind of want to see it just settle and the players grow up a little bit, and maybe we do sign someone in January. Maybe these sporting directors get threatened and they think, oh God, we're going to miss out on Champions League. Do you know what I mean? So therefore they sign someone. Probably not though. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Leave them down in the comment section. Thank you as always for supporting Football Therapy, for liking and subscribing on YouTube, for following and 5-starring on Spotify. And I do hope to see you back here very soon. Take care. Peace.